It is gut-wrenching. It is difficult. It is extremely uncomfortable. But stay to the end, and I'll explain to you why sitting in the devastation is worth it. Most owners, we want to fix the problem as soon as we see it. And that makes sense. Owners are often rewarded for being fast, decisive, and willing to step into the mess. A customer's upset, a team member drops a ball, a partner says something that lands wrong, or a decision creates pain that nobody intended. The owner feels the heat, right? The discomfort, the uncertainty of it, and immediately starts looking for a way out, for a solution. Who caused this? What do we need to do and when? How do we keep this from happening again? How quickly can we move past it and move forward and make it better? Those are not bad questions. They just might not be the first questions. I've been sitting and thinking a lot about what I call sitting in the devastation. That might sound heavy, but I think it matters. Sitting in the devastation means that we do not rush the past impact just because we, or even if we are uncomfortable with it. We pause long enough to bring awareness to what is showing up and acknowledge that something happened. Someone was hurt, trust was damaged, expectations were missed, or the result of what we wanted just didn't hit. Sitting with and being with those emotions and feelings are an important part of our growing and our awareness, and even gaining another level of clarity to the situation. The ability to see the impact we or others have caused by actions combined with a love and curiosity allow us to ask questions that we may have never imagined asking, but also bring greater understanding. In business, this shows up all the time. A customer is frustrated because the work does not match what they thought they were getting, what they paid for. A team member feels thrown under the bus because someone defended themselves instead of owning a situation or an issue. It could be a leader that says something in frustration and then wants to explain what they meant before they acknowledge how it landed. The normal move is to defend ourselves, to explain, to blame, to solve. I get that. But the better leadership move may be to sit for a moment and say, that stinks. I can see why that is frustrating. And so let's sit with that for a second. That does not mean that we agree with every accusation, right? It does not mean that we ignore responsibility. It does not mean that we let people behave however they want, right? That's not what it is. It means that we meet the person in the reality of what happened before we try to lead them out of it. We connect with them almost empathetically. That is where grace becomes practical. Grace is not pretending that the problem didn't happen. Grace is not removing the accountability. Grace is meeting someone at the bottom and walking with them towards the right next step. There's a big difference between saying, that is not my fault, and saying, I did not intend for that to happen, but I can see the impact that it had. There's a big difference between saying, Wade messed that up, and saying, I can see why this is frustrating. Let's figure out how we're going to make it right. There's a big difference between explaining your intention and acknowledging your impact. The last one I just mentioned is hard for owners because most of us want to be understood by our intentions. We have good intentions. We want people to know what we meant. But leadership often requires us to pay attention to impact, even when the impact was not what we intended. You can have good intentions and still create damage. You can be right about the facts and still miss the person. You can solve the task and still lose trust. That is why sitting in the devastation matters. That's the reward for sitting in the devastation. It slows us down enough to see what is actually happening. It gives the other person room to feel heard. It keeps us from turning every hard moment into a defense case. And it creates a path toward repair that is rooted in truth, not avoidance. The next time something goes wrong in your business, consider resisting the quick fix just for a moment. Refrain from driving to a solution immediately. Before you explain, ask, what impact did this have? Before you defend, ask, what does this person need me to acknowledge? And before you solve, ask the question, have we actually sat in the reality of what happened? And then move. Do not stay in the devastation forever. That is not leadership either. But do not skip it, because often the trust is not rebuilt by the solution alone. It's rebuilt when the people feel like you are willing to be with them in the hard part before asking them to move forward. It is, if this is showing up in your business, this is the kind of work that we do at the Epitome Coaching Experience. The goal is not to give you more to carry. It is to help you see what is clearly happening, where your alignment might be missing, and what your next right step needs to be. If I can support you, I am honored to be that. I look forward to supporting you along your journey and hope you have a wonderful day.